Ladies and gentlemen, Open Finance pioneers, how are you all doing? And a very, very warm welcome. Thank you for joining us, and I am excited to be launching our Open Finance Appathon with you today. Now, as many of you know, at OBE, we believe that collaboration drives innovation. So we are launching our first Open Finance Appathon. Now, this is a competition very kindly supported by MasterCard and AWS. Now, this is to inspire startups and scale-ups to launch market-ready product. So please let me talk through what we're going to do for the rest of our time together today. Now, we've 12 judges, all of which you can see on our website. We were joined by some of them today. I'm going to be introducing you to the judges, and we're going to talk through around what they'll be looking for and what inspires them. And then we're going to talk through our challenge statements. Now, we've got 4 challenge statements. They are retail and SME banking, payments, corporate banking, and open finance for good. Now, this is a competition, and this competition, as you would expect, has prizes. And all 3 of our API providers, so some of the very, very best in the industry, have very kindly given free API consumption. So just to be clear, we've got Railsbank and YTS offering 6 months of free API consumption, capped at £5,000, that's GDP, and Finastra at $5,000, that's USD. And all 12 of the finalists will receive £5,000 GDP of AWS credits. So that really is very, very generous of them all. Now, at OBE, we've just undertaken a huge piece of research, and the feedback was that everybody wants to talk about use cases. So we have asked all of our API providers, that's Railsbank, YTS, and Finastra, to share their user cases and to inspire you. Now, let me just talk through and introduce you to them. So you've got Railsbank. As we know, they enable any business to be a fintech. And we've got YTS. Now, they're on a mission to drive financial services forward. And they've actually written very recently a great white paper, which you can see over on our LinkedIn. And Finastra, a very, very personal thank you to Ryan, who was behind the idea for our Appathon. I was emceeing at API Days, and Ryan was there as a speaker. And like many good ideas, we had this one over a drink. So thank you, Ryan. Now on the screen, as always, you'll see the very talented Karina graphically recording what we are talking about and the insight that everybody on our panel is very generously sharing. We've also got Slido, so please don't be shy, ask your questions, and this is your opportunity to shape the conversation. And finally, we believe that collaboration does drive innovation. So at the very bottom of your screen, you will see our QR code that we launched, working with MoneyHub and Striva, so true collaboration. And here you'll be able to make an open banking payment and to donate to one of 3 charities. So please, whilst you're on this call today, please use your phone and help us make open banking payments ubiquitous. So what I would like to do, without further ado, is ask some of our judges to introduce themselves. And in particular, I would like them to talk about the Open Finance Appathon and how we can support the growth trajectory of our amazing industry, and also just really what inspires them, what they're looking for. So ladies first, Faith, over to you. Faith, would you like to share a little bit around what inspires you, what you're looking for as a judge, and more around the growth trajectory of our industry? Okay, maybe we'll wait for Faith to come back to us. Faith, do you want to come off mute? Okay, Jim, I wonder if you could step in and we'll come back to Faith at the end. Jim, please, would you share a little bit more around the Appathon? And I would like to take this opportunity actually to thank you for your wise counsel that you've given me throughout this process. So, Jim.
Thanks, Helen, and good morning, everybody. Jim Wadsworth. I lead MasterCard's open banking activity around the world. And perhaps that's why the kind of slightly weird graphic you can see behind my head, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, look, I mean, we're excited about this, and congratulations to Helen and team for getting this launched and underway, and happy to provide the sort of whatever support we've been able to provide to it. This open banking industry, the way we look at it is, we're clearly at early stages. We're at different stages as well in different parts of the world. And, one of the things that's really important is, frankly, showcasing the value that open banking ultimately will provide to customers, be they consumers or businesses, of course. So we think that this initiative is a great one for stimulating the creativity of all of the brilliant minds that are out there to further accelerate this amazing journey that we're all on.
Thank you, Jim. And Chris, now your colleague Hugh has asked me not to introduce you as the rock star of open banking. So I'm a little bit lost as how to introduce you. I think everybody knows Chris. Chris Michael, please talk to us around the growth trajectory of the industry and what inspires you as a judge.
Well, thanks, Hannah. Thank God for that. I'm really excited about this. I think we are already seeing a lot of really interesting use cases coming out in this space. I mean, the kind of first use cases that we saw were personal finance managers. We've seen a big growth in kind of usage of APIs now for business accounting, cloud accounting. But I think that the thing that I'm really interested in is stuff that does three things. It combines great customer experience with security, and I think that's something that we've was right at the heart of the design of these API standards. I think stuff that offers real value to consumers, whether that's personal or business customers. But I think the thing that really excites me is where we go beyond just basic business. Also basic bank data or payments, stuff that combines other data sets, integrates with other or touches into other sectors, could be retail data, that sort of stuff. And this is where we're starting to see some really interesting propositions starting to come into market. I wouldn't say necessarily any of them are mainstream yet, but I think this is where it gets really exciting when you combine data from multiple sources. I think a very wise man once said that data is more valuable or more powerful in the presence of other data, and that's something that I certainly would be looking for.
Thank you. And I think we've got Faith back. Faith.
Hi there.
Hi, loving the bunting, Faith. So please introduce yourself and talk a little bit around what inspires you, and as a judge, what you'll be looking for.
Thanks, Helen. So I'm Faith Reynolds, and I have a portfolio career, but all my activities are about keeping the consumer front and centre in financial and data-led services. And you can find out more about me on LinkedIn. It's really great to be here today, so thanks for inviting me, Helen. I think the Appathon is a really important initiative, actually. Last year, in my capacity as the independent consumer representative at Open Banking, I and colleagues wrote a report called Consumer Priorities for Open Banking, and in that we recommended that action was needed to stimulate the market. So open finance is full of potential. There's lots of opportunity, and that's what makes it so exciting and so attractive. But that opportunity, that potential needs to be fulfilled. And if consumers are going to kind of see a transformative difference in the way that they manage their money and make sense of life. But luring people away from the status quo is actually quite challenging. And building those products that are really responsive to consumers' lives are actually quite challenging. So this Appathon is absolutely ideal in terms of thinking about how do we bring technologists together to to develop services that are really responsive to consumers' needs. So I'm quite exciting to be working with you at Open Banking Excellence to open up APIs and launch new services that can get to market quickly, especially at this time with the impact of COVID, and also keep Open Finance on an upward trajectory despite some of the challenges that we've seen of moving to digital-based working, some small businesses really struggling to keep going, and obviously the massive health impact that some people have experienced. So yeah, really excited to be part of it. Thanks, Helen.
I'm thrilled you could join us. So you've heard from 3 of the judges. We have a total of 12 judges. As I said, you can find out more around or about even them on our website. So what I would like to do now is talk through our challenge statements. And Martin, if you could bring up the slides, and then Leon, could you lead the way and please talk around our first challenge statement, which is retail and SME banking, please. And if you could just talk a little bit around YTS and how that is applicable to this challenge statement. Martin.
Yes, thanks, Helen, and thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm Leon, leading the Yacht Technology Services business, so a open banking provider, which actually have been leading from the start. And that's also why, as YTS, we're very thrilled to be part of this Appathon, because having been leading open banking from the front, being the first to connect to an API in the UK, we now feel we need more parties to join this effort and actually propel open banking into open finance. So that's really where this Appathon can really help. And if we look at the challenge statement, so I'm speaking about retail and SME banking then. So there's a lot of value that can be delivered in this space through open banking and open finance. And some of the examples that are given in the challenge statement is, for example, enriching customer loyalty with value-added services powered by this data. And an example is here, what we already see coming up in the market is subscription management, for example, where users can easily see what bills they are paying every month and if actually those are bills that they want to keep paying or actually ever signed up for. Next to this, there's improving transaction controls and compliance monitoring, where again, the power of this data, open banking data, transaction data can really help in reconciliation, but also in compliance and KYC monitoring, which almost every day now we have some kind of KYC case anywhere around the globe. If you then look on the payment side, there's innovative card issue services that can be implemented, such as international card usage, as we see some examples in the market already. And especially close to my heart is the improvements in the personal finance management space, where personal finance management can also, based on open banking, really enhance how people and consumers interact with their money. And we have some clear examples there, as well as to how can a PFM app show customers how they're spending their money and then help them save little bits, little steps at a time, especially in these current hard times with furloughs probably ending soon as well. And then finally, in this space, the payments options. So more effective payroll services could be developed on the payment initiation APIs, but also for SMEs struggling with online payments, having a high cost PIS could be a very viable alternative. So all in all, I think a very challenging and nice area for APIs to play in, and I'm sure that we'll see some great use cases in this space. And on the payment side, I would like to then hand it over to Louisa Murray from Railsbank.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Helen, for inviting me here today. Fundamentally, Railsbank, we believe that any company can be a FinTech. And what's more, we also believe that consumers and SMEs will buy financial services from the brands they trust within a familiar and timely customer experience. And I'm head of customer experience here at Railsbank, so everything under sales, customer success and marketing. And we basically enable any type of company or individual to conceptualize, prototype, launch and scale and operate any type of financial product on the Railsbank platform. And they can also embed these financial products into their own customer experience using our very simple APIs. Okay, and we have sandboxes, we have a play live environment on our website now, which I hope everyone has already tested and literally can do real payments within a couple of minutes on our platform. So I've been with Railsbank for a number of years, so from the beginning. So I've seen many customers. So basically for the first couple of years, I spoke to every single customer. It was just me. So I've got a really good breadth of knowledge on the different use cases that we've got, and especially those that work with the payments here. So enhancing online or in-app payment experience with low cost, instant money movement that drives conversions and reduces chargebacks. So we've got a number of customers who use our banking as a service APIs, also our cards as a service APIs. I've got some new customers that are doing dynamic CVV changing and things like that, which is something that really will reduce the chargebacks and the fraud. Delivering faster cross-border peer-to-peer and direct-to-merchant payments. Again, we've got a number of customers in the UK here in Europe that one of them is actually called Rewarm, and I can ping some examples over after this, that use bank for these kind of services, that have different bank accounts set up in for remittance and things like that in Asia, and really deliver a great and instantaneous experience. And then applying AI and ML to payment fraud detection. So actually within the Railsbank platform, we have transactional monitoring as well in real time. So everything that flows through the platform, we can see, and we can set rules around the type of transactions and the profiles of your end users. So really excited to see what happens. I'm always about solving a problem. So I think if we can get some really good examples of problem solving here, that's stuff that really excites me. And over to Ryan.
Thank you, Louisa. So I'm Ryan from Finastra, and Finastra, for those of you who may not have heard of us or know of us, we provide core banking systems to about 8,500 banks across the globe in many different lines of business, whether that's retail, corporate banking, payments, treasury, capital markets. And along this journey of open banking and open finance, Finastra has been opening up these core systems that the banks use via APIs, so that the ecosystem of FinTechs can actually start innovating and accessing data and capabilities easily that they can sell through to banks. So I'm going to quickly touch upon the corporate banking challenge category. And it's really exciting to actually have corporate banking involved as a category, because you're starting to see already innovations and user experience enhanced within retail banking, and also in kind of SME business banking, but also corporate banking as you could say, an underserved market where the user experience may not be the best at the moment, but it is certainly improving. So some of the challenge statements we've got are looking at how do you improve user experience from simple to complex transactions. So that could be things like cash management in corporate banking, but it could be all the way up to trade and supply finance, or even looking at syndicate lending as well, and how you can improve that experience for corporate treasurers and relationship directors in corporate banks. You can also look at how do you start to enable easier processes by adding in features like mobile authentication. So how can you actually make corporate banking more mobile and not have to be at a desk? And then the last category that we've got there is looking at how can you use analytics to improve the way that either corporate treasurers manage accounts, or companies can explore their accounts. So looking at how do you manage liquidity, exposure, risk, your portfolio when it comes to corporate banking. And I would say probably for all of these challenge categories and the challenge statements we've been talking about, these aren't an exhaustive list. We're actually very excited in the Open Finance Appathon to see what other pain points people find and solve for. So I'm now going to pass back over to Helen to cover Open Finance for Good.
Ryan, thank you. Thank you very much. You can see that on your screen. So what I want to do now is give a huge shout out and do everything I can to encourage people to look very carefully at this category. For those of you tuning in from the UK, We're waiting for an announcement from Boris Johnson, our Prime Minister, around whether we're going back into lockdown. I'm in local lockdown as I'm talking to you now. So what I would love you all to do is to think long and hard around how you can use your talent, your very, very smart minds to support the economy and to help us get through COVID. Now, what I will do, Lou, is just reference, if I may, Lightning Aid. OBE ran a program right at the beginning of COVID, if you can cast your minds way back to March, and around OBE Heroes. And Railsbank launched Lightning Aid from idea to App Store in 8 days, just phenomenal. So my shout out is for this category is to have that same pace, that same innovation and inspiration to just to help us all get through this dreadful time of COVID. So please have a look at that challenge statement, and anything you can do to be inspired would all be wonderful. And I'm actually quite looking forward to having a look at all of the entries, particularly that one. Okay, so what I would like to do is that we do have Louisa, Leon and Ryan, who you've just heard from, but I would like to first of all ask you to have a look at their sandboxes, which you can see at the side of your screen now. But also I would like to pass back over to them to take a little bit longer to talk about some of their showcase user cases. And so you can get more of a feel for their APIs and what they do as a business. Now, we've got our launch today, and then next Tuesday on the 29th, we will actually be having 3 separate hour sessions. It's a real deep dive into their API. So that will be led by their engineering teams. So for now, I would like to have a look at some more of the user cases from Railsbank. So Lou, what would be your showcase user cases?
Well, we very much start with we very much start with allowing our customers to have an easy integration. And when they've done that, they have access to a whole different suites of capabilities, and it starts with banking as a service. And they have the ability to programmatically open ledgers or bank accounts. And those ledgers can hold any fungible asset. So it doesn't just have to hold a fiat currency, it can actually hold a commodity, or it could hold loyalty points, all sorts of things. So it makes a really interesting potential product there, especially around aid and things like that. So what they then have the ability to do is to send money in and out, or send a stored value in and out of those ledgers. And that can be a local payment rail such as UK Faster Payments or Global Swift. But let's concentrate on a local payment rail, SEPA, Swift, SEPA, UK Faster Payments, or in the case of the US or Singapore, ACH and SingFast. We can then potentially attach other types of products to those ledgers and use partners if we need to, but we can attach a card that looks to the ledgers for authorization at point of sale. And all our products are white labeled, so we are purely plumbing for everyone. Okay, so this allows our customers to totally concentrate on their front end, the customer experience, and all the nice things. And we're just there to be the utility company.
Thank you, Lou. Leon, would you like to shine a light on YTS and your use cases, please?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Helen. So at YTS, we provide essentially an API connection, single API connection to all the APIs from the banks that we have connected across Europe. So obviously we have open banking in the UK and PSD2 across Europe. And it has opened up opportunities around account information services, so allowing customers to share their bank account data, transactions and balances, but also payment initiation services, so allowing a third party to initiate a payment from a bank account for a user. So those are the two services on the API. Next to that, we try to bring more value to our clients, looking at value-added services such as data enrichment, looking at categorization, recognizing a merchant, looking at payment cycles in the transaction data. And next to that, which is a bit of a blind spot still in this space, is the KYC element. And the regulation differs greatly across Europe around this aspect, but we also provide some KYC services. And some use cases in this space, so for example, if you look at using an AIS, so Account Information Services API, it can be leveraged to speed up onboarding of clients, both retail and business clients. Because on the one hand, a client can prove that they own, or close to prove that they own an account, because they can give the consent to share the data. And on top of that, we have built a model which then automatically checks if the name that the customer provided is the name same as the name we see on the bank account. So making an onboarding process more smooth and risk-free. If you look at an existing client of us, it's actually an accounting platform. So they were used to be asking their customers to download these so-called MT940 files or CSV files from their banks and upload them in the accounting system. So that's history now. So we have a client in the Netherlands, an online accounting platform, Yort, and they allowed PSD2 connections for their customers, their business accounts, to automatically upload this information into their system. And again, making their service better for their customers by leveraging open banking. And finally, maybe if I may add one final example, especially in these current difficult times, you touched on COVID already, is that on two elements. So both retailers with the big move online, they need to focus on cutting costs, and their PIS, I think, can be a very viable alternative to currently more expensive credit card payments. And in lending, if business loans can be applied and can be looked at based on transaction data from AIS, I think a lot more companies will benefit from getting a loan to survive their business.
Leon, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Ryan, over to you to shine a light on more of the use cases from Finastra, please.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. So if I start first of all with, so Finastra's Fusion Fabric.cloud platform is all built off of the premise that a fintech, if they want to sell to a bank, would have to go to each bank and do point-to-point integrations to sell their product. As Finastra is a core provider of technology to these banks, basically the proposition is built off of you integrate once with Fusion Fabric.cloud, and then you can sell through to multiple banks without having to do point-to-point integrations because you've done it at the core level. So what we're seeing in terms of some of these use cases, and one of my favorites is actually fraud detection on corporate payments. So if you look at the space of payments, corporates are being targeted because they have massive payment values compared to retail customers. So what we've actually seen is a fintech who's integrated with our Fusion Cash Management and our Global Pay Plus products, so that they can enable the fraud detection model and kind of integrate it into our core system. So any bank who goes, I really like this feature of fraud detection, my corporate banking payments, let me turn it on essentially through our platform. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of our use cases, is that actually a fintech offers really good innovation and new capabilities, and a bank wants them, but they want it quick and they don't want to do all the in-house building themselves. So that's the whole premise of the platform, is you find one of our core products, whether that's retail payments, corporate banking, you integrate with that, and then you're able to sell to banks. We've got the deep dive next week where we'll go into kind of the nitty-gritty. So I'll leave it at that and pass it back to you, Helen.
Ryan, brilliant. Thank you. I'm actually looking forward to next week. We've got an hour for each one of Railsbank, Yacht and Finastra. It's going to be absolutely terrific. Faith, if we could now, I would like to ask you to talk a little bit more around the Open Finance for Good category. COVID has touched every part of all of our lives. So what would you be looking for as a judge, please?
So, well, I'm really, as I said, looking forward to this. I think I was struck by what you said earlier about pace and innovation. And my kids go through sort of phases of watching horrible histories on repeat. And I was struck, when you think about the horrors of the First World War, at the beginning of that war, 80% of all soldiers with a broken femur died. But with innovation and development as a result of the war, the Thomas splint was invented or further developed, and 80% of all soldiers with the injury survived by the end of the war. And that's the massive change. And I think that's what I really want to see from this kind of disaster, this health and economic disaster from COVID, that we would see a real jump in terms of thinking about innovation in financial well-being, because we're about to kind of face this massive onslaught of the economy sort of taking a real dive. We already know that 11% of the population are in crisis and 17% are struggling to make ends meet. So I think it's really important that we've got firms being able to connect some of the difficulty and the challenge they see in their home life from what they're experiencing or what they're reading, being able to connect that with their work life and be able to say, okay, how can we actually start about solving problems? So I think the challenge is really important in terms of sensitizing us and making us more empathetic, but there are so many opportunities to help people. And I think 3 areas where I'd really like to see firms making progress is around being more inclusive. So we know that lots of people are having to move to digital, but there's still lots of people who are struggling with that move. So I'd love to see some innovation around helping people with payments particularly, and really high control payments. There's lots of people who are struggling to make ends meet, and they don't want to see a receipt after a payment's been made. They want to know, how much have I got in my bank account? Can I afford to make this payment? And what's the implication if I pay for this thing? So some real innovation about thinking about how we give people real control over their payments. I'm struck by the fact that women are actually really impacted more so than men financially by COVID, because they're often working in lockdown sectors. So one of those opportunities to really reach out and design products that are convenient and fit around women's lives and family lives. And then also thinking about the health impact and the financial impact on Black and minority ethnic groups, it would be great to see some thinking about, okay, are there types of products that we need to shape differently to reach out, to make sure that they're inclusive and reaching into other people groups. The other aspect I wanted, which connecting with inclusivity, is relational. You know, money is a form of social capital, and we tend to think about individuals as in siloed capacity when it comes to money. So I'm really keen on use cases that connect people with family members or with friends, and we're seeing a bit of that through kind of initiatives which help people with their mental health or help people prevent fraud, but also thinking about how can we connect in carers and others. So sort of use cases which look at how can we connect people with other people in their family that can help them manage money, but not compromise privacy. So is it alerts, or is it sharing insights? What is it that can connect people and really make money much easier to manage across families and within communities? And then the other thing I'm looking for is something that's transformational. So things that actually have a transformative impact on people. You know, we've got lots of people coming into debt. How can we use open finance to make those journeys much simpler, much more empathetic? How can we help people apply for breathing space without that being hugely stressful? And also thinking about sort of involving other services in this, thinking about open finance, what aspects of insurance or energy or credit can we bring in? So other interesting combinations of data, like Chris mentioned earlier, to make services really work well. And I think the other area of transformation is the whole space around small businesses. So what is it that we can do? What are those real pain points for small businesses? Where are they, collapsing under the pressure of COVID, but wouldn't be collapsing if we were able to provide some real kind of helpers and pinpoints and help them with their cash flow or forecasting or payroll or just reducing the cost of payments. So interested in those areas. And I guess the other sort of space is thinking globally. So, actually the impact of COVID is global, and many people will be sending money to family or sending money to charities. And what is that last mile of making sure that with the impact of COVID in other countries, people are still able to access funds, whether that's charities working in communities where their offices have just been shut due to local lockdowns, or whether it's families sending money back to relatives in other countries where the financial impact has been so much greater. So those are some of the interesting use cases that it would be great to see coming from this Appathon, a real recognition of people's lives being, hugely impacted, us personally and the developers personally, but also the customers we're looking to serve. So that's what I'll be looking for. It's what I'm excited to see coming downstream.
Thank you. Your excitement is infectious. Thank you very, very much, Faith. Seriously, thank you. It is brilliant to have you as a judge. Now, what I'd like to do now is just spend the last amount of time that we have together is just talk to the judges more around what they're looking for from this competition. So I'm going to pass over to Lou. Now, Lou is actually stepping in for Nigel, who's on the Government FinTech Review Committee this morning. So thank you, Lou, for stepping in. And we will be sharing some film content from all of our judges, but we'll definitely share Nigel's content so you can hear from him afterwards. So we'll put that on LinkedIn. So Lou, big shoes to fill, but what will Nigel be looking for as a judge, please?
Yeah, so we've done a number of these before. We've done some hackathons of weekend hackathons of lots of people coming together, 100 or so people coming together and building products over a weekend. And we have received some amazing ideas and actually got some really good people who've come and worked at Railsbank who we've met at these the hackathon. So for what's going to be able to be achieved over the next few weeks, I imagine there's going to be some absolutely amazing things and everything Faith, I'd like to reiterate everything that Faith said is really important to us. The unit economics and everything that Railsbank can bring to the party make financial inclusion a really, really important and doable product for us. I'm looking for stuff, I'm sure Nigel's looking for stuff that solves a problem, as I said before, is global, as Faith said, but also is scalable as well. So that's something that we allow companies to work with Railsbank, and we want companies to work with Railsbank, prototype, grow their business, and then be in the position to scale it, within the first year or two. And that's something that is really important for me. Is this scalable, or are we looking at a small use case here? You mentioned obviously Lightning Aid, some brilliant use cases from that, one of which was really exciting, the Association of Independent Musicians. They needed to send money out to all the musicians who've not got any work at the moment, and they were literally able to do that. They sent £500,000 out within a couple of days. And so it's things like that really, really solved a problem and solved that problem quickly.
Thank you, Lou. Now, Jim, with your intergalactic background, as a judge, I am dying to hear what you will be looking for, because you have a global perspective on the industry. Jim.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can add very much actually to the eloquent expositions from Lou and from Faith. I mean, I echo everything that was just said. That scalability point, whether that's in national sense, regional or global sense, absolutely. Something that's actually solving a real problem, as opposed to kind of something that's terribly cute but actually won't actually matter to anyone in particular. I guess I'm also looking for something where there's thought to, if you like, the sustainability in an economic sense. So there has to be real value being created for whoever the target audience is. But there's some thought given to how that can be delivered in a way that actually makes financial sense to the supply chain. That doesn't automatically mean user pays, of course, but there'll be costs for delivery for somebody. There'll be potentially cost savings for someone else. So thinking through the economic model, I think, will also be something I'll be interested in.
Thank you, Jim. And Leon, let's hear from you again. You work in a constantly moving field where you'll be seeing innovation every day of the week. So what are you looking for as a judge for our competition, please?
Yes, thanks, Helen. So I think as a judge, very excited to be part of this, especially because what I'd like to see applicants do is transform the way people interact with their money and businesses interact with their money. So make it not only more enjoyable, but also more rewarding. So generate, like Jim said, generate real value for those customers. And in the payment space as well, I hope applicants are inspired by the countless opportunities that payment initiation can bring. I would, however, have a word of caution as well, that they need to be mindful of the current benefits that a credit card, for example, brings. So you need to make sure that if you come with a new proposition, that it can not only replace, but improve on an existing proposition. So for me, I think to wrap that up, an out-of-the-box idea which can help look at finances from a completely different angle. Faith used the word transformative, and also make banking more inclusive. I think that's those are the key values for me for a winning application.
Okay, we'll look out for those. Thank you, Leon. Chris, you have an industry-wide view. You've been involved with open banking at OBIE from the inception. I am fascinated to learn what you'll be looking for as a judge, please.
So I think I've touched on this before, and I think this will probably echo some of the things that some of the other judges have mentioned. So really, I think there is an enormous opportunity here to help particularly self-employed people, small businesses, people who might have lost their jobs partly due to the crisis or the recession, but to help those people. And I think services that can, to touch on some of what Leon said around payments, I think, helping provide better onboarding experiences, better payments. These are the sort of use cases I think I would like to see, as well as the ones I previously mentioned around combining data sets. I think, also echoing what Faith mentioned around some of the stuff for social good. I think there are so many opportunities here. I don't sort of really necessarily want to sort of lead the witness, so to speak, but for me, I think it's also combining data and payments. So can we look to maybe start to get the ball rolling a little bit early around some of the use cases where maybe the APIs don't yet exist across all of the larger banks in the UK or across Europe? Can we, with the firms that are supporting this Appathon, can we start to maybe get people excited about some of the things that might be coming in the future in the UK around open finance and smart data? Can we try and get ahead of the curve with some of these use cases and get, whether it's firms, regulators, just get the market a bit more excited about what could be there in the next sort of iteration of open finance smart data?
I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much, Chris. Ryan, I am going to let you wrap up in terms of the judges and share more around what Finastra would be looking for, please.
Yeah, I think a lot's been said already. And I guess for me, having come from a bank before, I've come across lots of different ideas within this space. And what's different about this Open Finance Appathon, sorry, is that it's not just a hackathon, actually. It's not just ideas. These are market-ready products that we're going to see that all of the partners, so from Finastra's point of view, Railsbank and YTS, we all want to help actually get ideas into actual products that then go out to market and you see adoption. That would probably be my only point to add here is the purpose of this is to get solutions out to market that we can get users adopting. So I'm excited to see that.
Ryan, thank you. And on a personal note, as I said at the top of the call, it all goes back to that drink we had at API Day. So quite a journey and a privilege to be on it with you is what I'm trying to say, getting tongue-tied there. Okay, what I want to do is just to remind everybody to have a look at the developer portals that you can see at the side of your screen, please, and to run through the prizes again for this competition. So API providers, some of the best in the industry, have very generously given free API consumption for the 12 winners, capped at £5,000 for Railsbank and YTS. That's for the first 6 months. And for the same period, Finastra are capping it at $5,000. So just to be clear, Finastra, it's $5,000 for 6 months. And for Railsbank and YTS, it's free API consumption up to the value of 5,000 GDP for 6 months. And then all 12 finalists will receive £5,000, that's GDP of AWS credits, which is superb. All that remains for me now really is to thank the panel for giving us their insight and for the judges for sharing what they are looking for in the competition. I'm sure you'll all agree there has been some wonderful takeaways. We will be putting this online, and please, I ask you to share this and the registration link that you will see on screen, and also it's at our website. Pass that on, please give it a shout out. What we're here to do is to drive forward the growth trajectory of our sector and to inspire innovation and collaboration. So the last thing that I would like to do is to encourage you, A, to register, and B, to tune in next Tuesday, Tuesday the 29th, for 3 separate API deep dives from Railsbank, YTS, and Finastra. That's an hour each, looking into the very technical aspects of their amazing APIs. So all that remains is to wish you all good luck. The closing date is on October the 30th, which happens to be my birthday, so that's an easy one for me to remember. And to wish you the very best of luck. If anybody has any questions, please email me at hello@openbankingexcellence.org, and wishing you and your families the very, very best of health. Thank you and goodbye.